The Celtics are going to be the 2024 NBA World Champs. However, the series is not over, and they don't necessarily clinch it on Friday night. I'm going to let you know how to play Game 4 side, total, player props. We're going to take a deep dive into all the angles and how to make some money. We all know this series is basically over, yet it's not over. There's still a Game 4, and there could be a Game 5. The odds makers have it priced as a pick'em. I'll give you a deep dive and some free plays here coming up in just a moment. Hi, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, right back here on WagerTalk TV. And look, we all know the Celtics are going to be the world champs. Pretty much knew it before the series started. If you went back a week ago, I did a preview video here on why Boston would be the world champs. And I had my strongest play of the entire NBA season, my number one ranked NBA season, and my strongest play was Game 1 Celtics minus the 6.5. With that said, though, this series is not over. It's still 0-3. They're going to play Game 4, and there might be a Game 5. In fact, the odds makers have this pretty much priced as a pick'em, depending on where you look. Mavericks are -1 or +1. You get Boston -1, +1. A lot of spots have -110 money line. I even saw one prominent offshore book with Celtics -1, Mavericks +1, both -110, and the money line -110. You'd have to be totally insane if you play at that book to take Boston -1, -110. We could get pick'em -110. So my point is, it's more important than ever to shop around because the lines really are varying. And now we know it. Games can't end in a tie, and it's unlikely even the teams win by one. It's not a very common margin either in the NBA. With that said, though, it shows why it's important to shop around. The total currently 211.5 in most spots. We do see some 211s out there. We'll see if we see even 212s by tip-off on Friday night. This game, by the way, Friday, 8:30 Eastern, ABC National TV, Game 4, back in Dallas once again. Huge story of the first game, of the first half versus the full game. Mavericks had a 13-point lead, came out fast as expected. I mentioned to you that I thought the better play if you're looking at Dallas in Game 3 was either first quarter or first half. And by the way, tough beat if you had Dallas first quarter, and that was my preferred play in the video for Game 3. Mavericks were probably about -1.5 in most spots on the first quarter line. They won by 1 point. They were up by 6 points with 40 seconds to go in the first quarter, and they only ended up winning by 1 the first quarter. So it was either a push or a loss. And once again, the line was inflated, as I mentioned in the video, because if you look at this Game 4 first quarter line, it is not that high, and they would have covered this price. In fact, with the game line around pick'em to -1, most books right now do have Dallas as -0.5 for the first quarter. So once again, it made the difference. That 0-2 home team in Game 3 angle has become very inflated, and that's one of the reasons we did not have the official best bets on the sides. I thought it was a good spot for Dallas, especially in the first quarter, first half, but I wasn't willing to give up the inflation, and it did make a difference. In fact, going back over the last 20 years or so, at one point, the first half was over a 67% play against the spread, over a 120-game sample, playing teams down 0-2 in Game 3 first half. But the last several years, last 3 or 4 years, it's been below 500 now because, once again, the odds makers have caught on, and that also made a difference in Game 3, not just first quarter, but first half. So it's something to keep an eye on and something to keep remembering next year in the NBA playoffs. As the cat is out of the bag, the odds makers, they sleep, but they don't sleep for long, and they've caught onto that 0-2 team back at home in Game 3. So yeah, the Mavericks had a 13-point lead in the first half. Boston then outscored them after that point by 34 points, and Boston took a 21-point lead. And then the Mavericks went on a 20-2 run and outscored them by 18 points. So it was definitely a story of runs. The question becomes, which one was more legit? I do think Dallas had the motivation and the energy from being down 0-2. I do think that Boston 21-point or 34-point run after that to take the 21-point lead was probably more legit. And I also think the Celtics, as they often do, took their foot off the gas with the big lead and enabled Dallas to come back. On the surface, you would think there's not much momentum. That has to be heartbreaking for the Mavs to have a chance to win and then lose it at home. And that was my initial thought as well. But it's so important to back up your theories with statistical backtest, and that's when I call in my colleague and friend Ralph Michaels, Stat Daddy, the human database, father of Jeff, the pin. And I had Ralph run several charts for me for this video here. We're going to go over them here in a second. First of all, teams down 0-3, Game 4, have been slight losing plays over the last 20-some years. However, that was more of a case 2 decades ago, and the odds makers once again caught on to that, and they started adjusting the numbers accordingly. But what I wanted to really dig in with Ralph was that teams at home as a slight favorite or a slight dog, how they do. And actually, that's been the most profitable situation, is teams in this small home dog, small or favorite situation. In fact, going back overall, over the last 20 years or so, home favorites or home dogs of 2.5 or less, which qualify here, means it's a competitive game, are 14-12 straight up. So they don't toss the towel. They're going 13-12 and 1 ATS, 13-12 and 1 over-under. But my point is they're 14-12 straight up. So when they're a favorite or a slight dog, they don't just mail it in, which you thought Dallas might do here. Basically, the teams that are totally outclassed are the ones that mail it in. And what was very interesting from the chart Ralph Michael sent over to me, some of the back test data he did, was that if you look at all the home teams in Game 4s down 0-3, and this goes back once again over a couple of decades, it's really remarkable that the worst spots are the worst teams. In fact, the 9 biggest underdogs in this sample set, and by the way, this was all over 80 games, those bottom 9 teams, the biggest spreads went 0-9 straight up and against the spread. So my point is, the better team, the more competitive games are when the teams do win Game 4 down 0-3, even though they know no team has ever overcome an 0-3 deficit to win a series. I do think Dallas has a fighting chance to force a Game 5 on a Monday night. Actually, no game Saturday, Sunday. It would be Monday night. And all you conspiracy theorists out there, you have to think the NBA would like at least a 5th game. So we got that going for us as well. But once again, it might seem contrarian in nature, but Dallas does have a chance to make this game competitive, as quality teams do usually show up in Game 4. By the way, the public is on the Celtics. We also had that going for us, the public dog. The Celtics are a slight public play here. Dog to pick them, favorite some spots, but you could call them a public dog. Celtics are looking very public here after the Mavericks were kind of public in Games 2 and 3. Really, Game 1. They've been public in most of the series, and everyone coming in, a lot of the public money was on the Mavs at nearly 2-1 to win the series. Now they're jumping ship, so that's another indicator that maybe it's not quite as obvious and that the Mavericks will show up with some effort here in Game 4. Hey, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Mavs show up? Obviously, they're done. They're not going to win 4 straight. But do they win Game 4? That's what matters. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. I read all the comments and I reply back. Total's been bumped down a little bit here to 211.5. Not a surprise. First 3 games have all stayed under the total. I did think Game 3 would have a faster tempo, and it did not. When it got competitive there, of course, it didn't help that Boston only scored 2 points over like that 4-minute span when Dallas went on the 20-2 run. But not many fouls were called either, and that also does not help the overs when we're not getting free throw attempts. In fact, Game 1, we had 38 free throws, 44 in Game 2. We had only 30 free throw attempts in Game number 3. That was really the big difference, and it lands on 205, stayed under by about 9 points. My rescore models in the first 2 games were 214 and 217, which would have been slightly to the over. Game 3 rescore was only 204.5. So once again, 214, 217, now 204.5. So 211, 211.5. Probably pretty much where it should be. And the regular season games were very high scoring, obviously, but when you factor in lack of a slower pace for playoff games, my rescores came out to about 213 and 203. So once again, this 211 is kind of right in the middle of all the rescores for the 5 head-to-head meetings this season between these 2 teams. All right, on the way out here, let's look at some player props. And by the way, thank you for all this. If this is the final game, it's a big if. I say it's 50-50. If we don't have a Game 5, thank you all. You've joined us for all the playoff videos. I did every game this postseason, and if there's a Game 5, I'll be back on Monday with that video as well. But give it a thumbs up, a like, if you're finding these videos useful. Comment below, as I said. I read all the comments. And click subscribe and hit the bell for instant alerts so you know when these videos go up every day, including a ton of free play baseball videos that I do throughout the week. And don't forget NFL Fade the Public, college football top 25 reports just a few months away when the football season begins this fall. So click subscribe and click the bell for instant alerts so you never miss some free content here on WagerTalk TV. All right, some player props to look at. I do think Dallas will be more competitive in this game, or still be competitive. But of course, the big takeaway from Game 4 was that nobody else was able to score on that court for the Mavericks other than Kyrie and Luka Doncic. And that's a huge problem if you're Dallas. You got to get the supporting cast playing better. P.J. Washington only had 1 point midway through the third quarter. He ended up with 13. He came alive in the fourth quarter. I think P.J. Washington is a guy that could have another big game. His over could be worth a look for that reason. Currently priced at about 13.5. He's had 13, 17, and 14 in the 3 games so far, so he's been right around this number. But they have to take some of the work off of Irving and Doncic. And I also think the Celtics are going to key more on Irving and Doncic than ever, because those 2 guys combined took 55 of the 86 shot attempts, and they scored 62 of their 99 points, scored almost 63% of the total points, which means they're going to key on him more. Other guys should be open, and P.J. Washington, in my opinion, is the 3rd best scorer on that team. Jones Jr. is a guy that could step up, but it concerns me he only played 15 minutes, only had 2 shot attempts. So I'm going to stay off of him for that reason. Gafford only played 16 minutes. Lively the second had a big fourth quarter as well. Some big dunks down low, some easy dunks. He went 5 for 6, shooting 11 points. Played 30 minutes, but Lively's not a big scorer in general. So once again, if someone picks up the load off of Doncic and Irving, I think it's going to be P.J. Washington. I like him over 13.5 points in Game 4 at home. Other guys to take a look at on the Celtics, Al Horford played 36.5 minutes. Man, he looks slow and confused out there sometimes. He was 3 for 6 shooting and still ended up with only 8 points. I'd have no problem with the Horford prop under. The problem, though, is Porzingis, of course, was out, and Horford gets more minutes when he doesn't play. So I'm kind of neutral on Horford. Tatum had a big game, 31 points. Jaylen Brown had 30. Never looking to fade superstars, but once again, those guys probably are due to regress a little bit. Derek White had 16. The guy that I think might have a bigger game is Drew Holiday. He had a monster game, too, of course. Really put himself back into the MVP race after the 26 points in Game 2. He had 12 in Game 1. Had only 9 points in Game 3 on Wednesday night, but he's priced at 12.5. I think he can definitely get there. Drew Holiday, a big-time playoff performer over the years. I like him over 12.5 points. He was only 4 for 9 shooting, just 1 for 3, and he did not attempt a free throw and still got to 9 points. And once again, he had 26 and 12 in the others. And then going back to that Pacers series, he had 14 points or more in all 4 games against the Pacers. So far, he's had at least 12 or more in 6 of the last 7 playoff games. Very modestly priced at 12.5. So I like Drew Holiday over 12.5 points for the Celtics and P.J. Washington over 13.5 points for the Mavs for you prop players out there, Game 4 Friday night. Hey, comment below. What are your thoughts on the props? Any other player props, rebound, assist props you're looking at? I always love to get some input. Let's learn and earn and win together here on WagerTalk TV. And don't forget, if you want my official best bets for Game 4, also my daily baseball best bets, they're on WagerTalk.com. Steve Merril. I also post a free play every day. Don't miss those free baseball plays posted each and every day on my page with analysis. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. Also, we do have our all sports specials going this week, a 7-day for $77. That works out to just $11 a day. That's about $5 a play for every baseball and basketball best bet I release for the next 7 days and nights. 7 days for $77. It's a great day, a great special for those of you who want to try the daily package for a full week. Or if you want a longer term package, also on my page right now is buy 2 weeks, get another 2+ weeks for free. Here's how it works. Buy a 2-week package for 14 days. You get 30 days in total. That's an extra 16 days for free. It's basically like a buy one, get one. No promo code needed for that one either. So once again, 7 days for $77 or buy 2 weeks, get 16 more days free. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. That gets every baseball and basketball best bet with analysis that I personally use. My clients get the same plays I'm using each and every day. And don't forget about the free play. It's a game that was just a bit outside from making the cut. Free plays have done quite well this year in Major League Baseball. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. You can follow me on X, Twitter, at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merril on Twitter X. And I'm also on Instagram. Follow me on IG. And be sure to stay tuned here to WagerTalk TV for more great baseball and basketball previews coming up next. Oh, P.S. I'm hosting WagerTalk today on Friday afternoon at noon Eastern and also hosting the baseball show live at 2 p.m. Eastern Friday. So if you want some more baseball talk and NBA talk, WagerTalk today, noon Eastern. Baseball show live at 2 Eastern. I'll be on both of them Friday. And also the NBA tip-off show at 3:30 Eastern Friday. Man, I buried the lead. I've got a triple header going Friday. Wager Talk today, baseball and basketball. So lots of talk, and we take live questions in the chat on the basketball show at 3:30 Eastern Friday. So if you want to ask me something specific, you can put it in the comments below here because I read them. But you can also chime in live on Wager Talk TV. Yet another reason to hit subscribe and hit the bell for instant alerts. Best of luck, and I'll talk to you again soon.